Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So today we are diving into an artist's private notes, their journal, really.
Right. Getting a look behind the curtain.
We're taking a long, detailed look at the story behind this really remarkable abstract artwork.
It's titled Soft Grids, Loud Hopes.
Which is such a great title. The journal describes it as a moment of color inside a structured world.
And that's really what it's about. It's this relationship between, rigidity and freedom.
It's a compelling concept. It really forces you to think about your own routines, doesn't it?
Oh, immediately. And the core question the artist is asking here, the one we're exploring, is so relatable.
Which is?
Have you ever felt like your life is just defined by lines, by schedules, by routines? That feeling of being gridded. That's the visual starting point for this piece.
So our mission today is to explore exactly how that structure functions. Is it just a cage?
Or, as the artist suggests, does it actually hold the space we need for a surprise, for genuine human expression?
That's the question.
And the initial sources, the journal entries, they tell us the work, began as something really sterile. It was this, quote, quiet grid.
Just ink on paper.
Just ink on paper. And the inspiration was very literal, very architectural. The artist was thinking about the urban landscape.
Specifically cities like Vancouver, right?
Exactly. High-rise buildings, this repeating rhythm of windows, row after row after row.
I find that so fascinating because when you look at a skyline, your first thought is repetition. It's concrete, glass, steel.
It's order.
But the artist saw something completely different inside of that.
They did. They completely reframed it. The city structure wasn't cold architecture to them. It was, and this is another quote, a massive collection of small stories stacked on top of each other.
Wow.
Yeah. Thousands of people, each with a full, complex life, all living inside these structured, repetitive patterns that we, as outsiders, we barely even pause to register.
It's the sheer density of hidden routine.
Yes, that's it. It just sets up this incredible tension from the very beginning.
You have this massive, organized system on the one hand.
But the entire point is that it contains endless, disorganized humanity.
And the initial sketches, they were all about capturing that overwhelming sense of order.
That's right. The first part of the process was all about the grid.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the journal details this initial struggle. The early sketches were just clean blocks, steady lines. They were meticulous, almost perfect visual representations of routine, echoing the city grid.
But the notes suggested deep frustration with that. The grid felt limiting. It felt claustrophobic.
The artist actually wrote that the pure grid felt like a beautiful cage.
A beautiful cage. And that's the realization. If the work only documented the structure, it would miss the entire point of what it means to live in that structure.
So the grid was just a container. It lacked life.
The structure wasn't the narrative. It was just the setting.
And that leads us to this pivotal moment, this interruption. The journal just says, color slipped in.
I love that phrasing, slipped in.
Right. It wasn't this big, deliberate decision from the start. It was an unexpected break, a spontaneous act that the artist just allowed.
And that break became the central focus of the entire work.
So that's the crucial analytical shift. As soon as that first splash of pigment arrived, the artist realized the structure wasn't the story.
The journal says it plainly. The breaks in the structure were.
Yeah.
The rigidity of the routine, it only serves to amplify that sudden flash of individuality. It gives the color a visual weight it just wouldn't have if the whole canvas were chaotic.
It's the loud hopes part of the title coming to life. But these colors weren't just, random splashes. They were very intentional.
Oh, absolutely. They were vibrant intruders. The journal specifically mentions greens, blues, purples, and a really striking orange.
And what did the artist, what meaning did they give to those specific hues?
Well, the interpretation is deeply humanistic. Each color burst was meant to feel like a tiny, defiant window into someone's life.
A defiant window. I like that.
It's great, isn't it? So green might be quiet growth or persistence. Blue could be a moment of, profound reflection. Purple, perhaps, deep imagination.
And it's orange.
The orange was special. The artist described the orange as representing a sudden, necessary moment of courage or a small, joyful rebellion against the steady drone of routine.
That completely reframes the whole visual experience. Suddenly we aren't looking at abstract shapes anymore.
No, you're looking at abstract acts of human will.
It's the internal life, our internal lives, insisting on being seen against that external frame.
And if we look at the grid as the expected path, the color is the necessary deviation. This is really the overarching theme the artist wants us to grasp.
It's a powerful reminder then.
A very powerful one. That even in the most organized, gridded places, your weekly schedule, your corporate job, your city block people still find ways to let that color in, to break the mold and make their singular existence visible.
It fundamentally changes the idea of a regulated environment. You might think of structure as something that limits you, but here, the structure is what makes the individual expression, the loud hope, so noticeable, so precious.
That tension, the idea that the flash of color relies on the frame. That's the deep insight. It suggests that if your whole life were color, none of it would stand out.
It needs the quiet grid to feel loud.
Exactly.
Now we need to shift from that loud visual rebellion of color to something much quieter. Another essential component the artist introduced.
The tiny black dots.
The tiny black dots. After you, the listener, you think about those giant bursts of color in your life, you might then start thinking about the small repetitive actions.
It's an interesting structural choice, isn't it, to follow this explosive element with something so minuscule. They almost seem contradictory to the vibrant hopes.
At first, yeah, they might look like mistakes or maybe static, some kind of noise. But the artist had this really profound interpretation for them.
What was it?
They became the pauses, which is just such a beautiful, gentle way to relabel something that could be seen as negative.
The pauses, that's right. So the artist saw them not as points of friction or errors, but as the breaths we take.
Exactly. There are those necessary moments of inertia, the stops, the moments of reflection that just sort of happen without planning.
And the journal has that beautiful phrase about them, saying the dots are the moments in between everything we're holding up.
It's incredible. It shows the grid isn't just a physical container for color. It's a necessary scaffold that also has to hold space for rest, for recovery.
So the artwork illustrates how structure creates predictability, which in turn
holds space for surprise and movement.
I think this resonates with everyone, regardless of their daily routine. We often treat those tiny pauses, the 5 minutes waiting for the coffee to brew, that sudden quiet moment in the car, we treat them like wasted time.
Right, like we should be doing something.
But the artist reframes them as the necessary black dots that prevent the whole colorful structure from just collapsing.
Okay, so we've established these 3 core components. We have the rigid routine grid.
Then the rebellious, joyful color.
And finally, the resting, sustaining dots.
If you synthesize that whole system, it's a profound statement. It shows that routine doesn't necessarily limit us.
No, it actually supports the visibility of our individual acts. And it sustains our capacity to even make those acts.
It elevates the work beyond just being about organized life.
Yeah.
It's about highlighting the deeply human parts of us that refuse to stay quiet.
Whether that refusal is a shout of color
or a necessary silent rest.
This brings up an important question, one we always run into with abstract art. How does this lack of, objective representation allow for such broad and deeply personal interpretation?
Well, that's the magic of the genre, isn't it?
I think so. The artist provides the conceptual recipe, but the finished meal, emotionally speaking, is prepared entirely by the viewer.
That's a great way to put it. The artist gives you the elements, structure, surprise, rest, but doesn't assign them to a specific person or a specific event. They're universal feelings, which allows the work to act as a kind of emotional Rorschach test.
And that open interpretation is why the artist dedicated the next part of the journal to addressing that classic audience question they always get.
What do you see in this?
Exactly.
And the range of responses they cite is powerful because it instantly validates that 3-part system we were just talking about. The responses really break down into 2 camps.
Those who focus on the grid and those who focus on the hopes.
Right. So for the grid-focused viewers, they try to impose a literal structure onto the abstraction. The journal mentions people who saw a precise map of Vancouver.
Or distinct apartment windows. They're drawing directly on that initial architectural inspiration.
They're essentially asking, what is the structure made of?
But then you have the other group, the hopes-focused viewers. They project their own emotional or temporal experience onto the piece.
They see their life reflected back.
Yeah, they feel it reflects their week, structured and busy, but still filled with quiet pockets of hope.
They're asking a different question. They're asking, What does the structure feel like?
It really shows the difference between seeing a photograph of a thing and seeing the feeling about a thing.
Hmm.
It proves that a sophisticated piece of abstraction is truly dynamic. It doesn't just sit there on the wall. It interacts with whatever baggage the observer brings to it.
Precisely. And the source material captures this beautifully, saying that the ultimate beauty of abstract work is that it lets you find your own reflection in it.
So for you, the curious learner, trying to grasp the meaning of soft grids, loud hopes,
It's less about calculating the lines and more about measuring your internal state against the elements the artist has provided. It bypasses the purely intellectual mind and speaks directly to emotional resonance.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the artwork really functions as a mirror for your own internal balance of order and chaos.
That's it. Do you focus on the strict lines of the grid in your own life, constantly counting the structure?
Or do you prioritize and cherish the unpredictable color breaks and those restful black dots?
The art forces that immediate self-assessment. It's a very sophisticated way to remind us that organization is necessary.
But it's the humanity, the color, and the pauses that makes the organization worth enduring.
It offers a kind of reconciliation between structure and freedom, suggesting they're actually interdependent forces.
Which leads us perfectly to the final analytical thought we pulled from this deep dive, the central paradox of the piece.
Which is that structure isn't the opposite of freedom.
It's what defines and ultimately amplifies the unexpected, free moments of life.
Without the steady, quiet lines of that ink grid, the loud hopes, those bursts of color, it would just be visual noise.
The grid provides the silence needed for the song to be heard.
A perfect summary.
So what does this all mean? We've seen that the artwork is a complete system. It's built on this constant tension between routine and rebellion, structure and color, effort and rest.
And it's a reminder that we are all constantly holding that exact same tension within ourselves every single day.
And the artist leaves us with this truly provocative statement, one that flips the script entirely on how you should engage with art.
It encourages you to engage not just passively, but actively.
The quote is, "Art isn't just something you look at."
It's something that looks back.
That really makes you think, doesn't it? About the dialogue you have with the things you choose to consume and experience.
It does.
So we leave you with this final question, inspired by the spirit of soft grids, loud hopes. What small piece of life is interrupting your routine right now in a way you maybe desperately need it?
Where's your unexpected color?
Find your pause, find your color, and find your hope inside the grid.
That's the challenge this piece poses. The art isn't really finished until you decide what the colors and dots mean to you.
That's all for this deep dive.